I'm just going to say this because I'm recording as well, just in case I want to chop this up for a future video, but this will be the live stream chat of Alien Romulus. So I'm just logging that now for anyone who wants to watch the live chat before anyone actually comes into chat, because I haven't been on YouTube for this entire year. But I've just been flooded with a bunch of messages and comments from prior Alien videos asking me to talk about Alien Romulus. So I can't sleep at the moment. It's currently 2 a.m. in Australian time. So I thought I'm just going to start drawing an alien, and then I'm going to discuss the film and kind of just talk to chat as I go until I am tired. Just in case, also, if I end up cutting this up into an actual video, kind of overriding reviews, I'd much rather just discuss it. So I'm just going to talk about my feelings of Alien Romulus, and let's just hang out and have fun. Alright, a bunch of people are coming in. First of all, if anyone wants a quick discussion, a quick overall view of what I thought of the film, you can go check out my immediate comments leaving the cinema on Twitter or X. Can everyone hear me okay? I've not done a live stream test in 2,000 years, so if anyone can comment in the chat and let me know if you can hear me alright, because I don't know. My volume is very low. Let me see. Is it still low? My OBS is showing that it's nearly at the red. What if I turn that on? Does this sound any louder? Holy shit, I can see it in the waveforms. Alright. How are we doing, everyone? Doot, 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 doot. Alright. Sorry, I'm so rusty with this whole process. Can I get another update? Everything I'm looking at is delayed on my computer, so I don't even know if the volume's good or not. Alright. Volume's good now. All good now. Cool. How's everyone been? It's been a bloody hot minute, hasn't it? It's been a slow year for movies, but we have had some good ones. Why did you change your name from Chord Effects to Chords? Just so it was more recognizable. It was like, so it could just be just a defined short phrase where Chordry Effects. The origins of Chordry Effects, the channel was originally meant to be my online show reel. So anything I made, I was going to put on this channel. But then, ironically, at the start of my reviewing career, which kind of ended, the first entry was Alien Covenant. And now we're back with Alien Romulus. Alright, I'm just going to quickly check how many is here. Oh, 28 people, nice. I was expecting 0. Alright, so I'm just going to get this right off the bat. I loved this movie. This movie was exactly what I've been wanting for so long, ever since Prometheus. I understand everyone's criticism, but I am kind of disappointed in the backlash of this film, but for some kind of like complex reasons. So everyone's been comparing this movie to the Rogue One, which I think is unfair. I think the direct comparison, and even like the tiniest comparison I would make, would rather be The Force Awakens. Because this is the thing, I have been a massive Alien fan my whole childhood. I can hate things in all the sequels, but at the end of the day, basically Alien 1 to Alien versus Predator Requiem were all a part of my upbringing, so I I rewatch all of them like every once in a while. I rewatch Alien and Aliens the most, and ironically, I rewatch Alien Resurrection more than I do Alien 3. I'm If you've seen my old video movie nights, I think I made it clear in that I I'm kind of frustrated with Alien 3 just because uh there's good things in both versions, the director's cut, oh sorry, the assembly cut and the theatrical cut, but not one is better than the other to me. And the only way I'd truly like Alien 3 is if I also made a fan edit that combined all the pieces I like. Because obviously the assembly cut, there's a whole second section where they trap the alien, they think everything's fine, and then the crazy dude lets it out. Where in the theatrical version, they don't even trap it; it's like an accident, and they don't even get that moment. But Alien Resurrection, despite being a very silly movie, it is a solid silly movie. Like that script was tight and the direction was fun. I just overall and what it adds to the franchise is very silly. But hey, it's 90s silly, and that's where I can get my enjoyment out of it. Now, Alien versus Predator 1 and 2 to me are very like, I don't know. It's just that freak show of the versus movie. I'm pretty sure, sorry, of my opinion, Freddy versus Jason is the best versus movie. I don't care if you hate that movie, you don't like that movie, but if you want to compare both franchises merging together as the big boxing match that it was, that movie is solid in terms of what it is. In terms of a good movie, that doesn't matter. I'm not even... it's good to me. But as it's been documented on this channel for many years, my frustrations with the Prometheus and Alien Covenant prequel stories was basically nerd fan hate. And the thing is, I've kind of dropped all my nerd hate since. Like, at first with Prometheus, I have rewatched Prometheus since. I didn't rewatch it ever since the cinema for like ages. But upon rewatch, I think earlier this year, my takeaway from Prometheus was the exact same after the cinema. Where I was like, the first half is so interesting. And then once the horror starts, it becomes so silly. Not like Alien Resurrection silly, but it just becomes a complete mess. And it's trying its hardest to rush towards the ending. Just to wrap it up. All the crazy stuff and they'll wrap it up. But the first half's very, very interesting because it's like this complete slow introduction to the alien world again, but it's this new perspective. And they're basically planting all these seeds where you're like, oh, this is going to get to the xenomorph. But then the whole movie comes and goes and it ends with, I don't know if it did. Was that the alien at the end? I don't know. But then it was a part of that annoying early 2010s thing where they want a sequel before they've told the story. And having that movie be so unresolved, it's like you ended on questions, but not good questions. And then Ridley Scott goes and makes like 50 movies in between. Then you're like, are they even going to wrap this up? And then along comes Alien Covenant, which spawned my desire to, for some reason, start reviewing movies. And it was like, they're still not. That movie ends with even more questions. But as it's been documented, I've been so frustrated with that as a fan because I kept waiting for it to finally link up to Alien. Because it's like, well, if you're establishing that this is a prequel, when are we getting to the Alien? Like, when are we getting to the original? 2 movies in, and it's like even more questions. Alien Covenant was not getting to LV-426. Instead, it adds this extra planet called LV something else. And it still ends with them not going to there unless where David hijacked that ship was going was to LV-426. Do not know. But that being said, the Alien Covenant had so much backlash, and obviously I contributed to that. And then it was just up in the air if they were ever going to actually make another Alien movie. And for a while, it was the Neil Blomkamp pitch that came out of nowhere, which I was so excited for. And I remember at the time when that was kind of, because he leaked all that fan art, the concept art that he had his team work on. And like everything, about 70% of it looked very fascinating. There was some designs in there where I was like, I don't know if I like Sigourney Weaver wearing a xenomorph suit. There's like, the whole problem with the prequel series is stop adding things to Alien just because you can, just because it's like, oh, the franchise is tied now, let's flip it on its head. It's like, can we please stop doing that? Can we please stop trying to give answers to the mystery? And then Blomkamp's Alien 5 ended up just getting canned. And then there was absolutely no news for ages, except for this Alien Hulu show, which I thought was dead once Romulus was announced. But they've been showing the teaser for that during Romulus, at the start of some Romulus screenings, which is like, what? It's kind of interesting now that you're teasing this now, but I guess they probably had a lot of early buzz with Romulus doing well, so they were like, oh, screw it, let's just tease everything else that we've got on the pipeline. But that being said, as I said before, the one thing I've been wanting from this franchise that I was in love with as a kid and then I've had to watch, like, I don't like what the Alien vs. Predator movies did to the lore. I'm really not a fan of Predators and coming to Earth and telling us how to basically start civilizations. Which is, it's ironic because the Prometheus movies did that as well, but through the Alien, not just Predator. But like, as I said before, I've just dropped my nerd hate because in 2015, around that era when The Force Awakens came out, that was this weird period where they're bringing back old franchises, but they're also bringing back the old actors, and there's kind of a sequel, kind of, you just get to see them again. And at the start, it was fun because a lot of these properties were just kind of dead. But then that novelty wore off very, very, very quickly. And I'm just been so sick of trying to tread old stuff, but then also trying to just completely change everything about it. Like, whoa, this movie's going to flip this franchise on its head. I'm so sick of, franchise head flipping. And what I was so excited for about Neil Blomkamp's Alien was like, all I wanted. I'm sick of what you add to the story. All I wanted was a new version of the old experience. I don't want a bigger, new, brand new story. I just want a new version of that experience. I don't watch Alien and Aliens and just like look at every single minute detail and like have fan theories that expand into like infinite ideas and possibilities. I put on Alien and Aliens to rewatch just because I love going back to that experience. Was very devastated when Blomkamp's Alien got canned. And then out of nowhere, they're like, oh, we're doing another Alien movie. It's undecided if Ridley Scott will be making his third prequel end of his trilogy. But out of nowhere, it's like, there's a new Alien coming out and it's directed by Fede Alvarez this time. And I was like, Fede Alvarez? I really enjoyed his Evil Dead remake. Which was, I don't rewatch his remake. If any time I ever want to rewatch anything from the Evil Dead franchise, it's if Bruce Campbell is in it. Is basically my go-to. But I really respect his remake because it didn't try to turn moments into like, what would you say? Like, it's not really full of fan service. It's full of references, but it's not. It didn't feel like a product of itself. It felt like, all right, if we're going back to Evil Dead and we're doing a kind of start again, but we're not saying it's a reboot. The experience of Fede Alvarez's Evil Dead remake was so fun. It was so violent, it was so visceral, it was simple, it didn't try to add too much to the lore. It literally was just another Evil Dead movie with modern filmmaking, and it was just the experience all over again. Granted, they went and made Ash vs. Evil Dead, which I think was one of the greatest shows ever, and I cannot believe in my lifetime I got so much more content of Bruce Campbell's Ash. Now, jump to Alien Romulus. All the trailers won me over. It just looked like the Alien experience again. It didn't look like it was flipping everything on its head. It didn't look like it was changing everything. It wasn't trying to say, oh, remember this minute detail from the original? Oh, guess what that meant? It just looked like, for the first time in ages, it was just another Alien movie. That was my takeaway from the trailers. I didn't try to speculate too much. I didn't try to read too much into it. But every time a trailer showed when I went to the cinema, I was like, all right, I'm very on board with, like, Fede Alvarez. He is clearly a fanboy of these properties like this and Evil Dead. But he's a good horror director. He knows what he's doing when it comes to horror and tension. And he's clearly a great artist with set design and art department. Like, you really can't go wrong with Fede Alvarez. I remembered enjoying Don't Breathe, but I have not watched it again since. And I never watched that girl that kicked the Hornet's tattoo fire nest, whatever that one was called that he made. Just because I was confused, I'm like, oh, what? I thought this was Finch's franchise. Why are we jumping to the fourth book? But whatever. Now we get to Alien Romulus. Alien Romulus did exactly what I wanted. I'm just gonna breeze through a couple of negatives. Although I was not feeling these negatives after the movie finished, I walked out with the biggest smile on my face. My heart was pounding, and I just had the best alien thrill ride that I have been waiting for since my childhood, basically. What I want to get off right off the bat, if I was to make an Alien movie, not to sound pretentious, but if I was to make one, this movie wouldn't be it, because it was too, I would say it's too safe territory. However, after watching the Alien prequels go far beyond the boundary of safe, this is the time I was like, okay, I'm fine with safe. Just as long as it's disgusting and violent and atmospheric and tension, like, and tense. That's exactly what I got out of it. Everyone's criticism about all the member-berry lines of dialogue, I completely agree. I hated them when I heard them, but the movie itself had me in the palm of its hand that the second someone said a famous quote, I was just like, nah. And then I just let it pass straight by, because it was, all right, back to story. Because when I heard them at the time, I was like, you don't need to say the lines from the originals, because you're doing such a great job without callbacks. And the get away from her, you bitch line was very, very out of place, because that was so earned in Aliens. Hands down, that was so earned. In this one, it was kind of like, you don't need it. Come up with a new line. Have what's his name? Andy be like, you're artificially unintelligent. I have him be like, perfect organism, my ass. I don't know if anyone cares about spoilers. I feel like no one's watching a live stream discussion of this film if they haven't seen the film. And if you haven't, please watch it first. Everyone is losing their mind about Ash being in this, the robot. Although it's just a different model with the same face. I liked it. I didn't like that it was Ash, but what we got in terms of the character, in terms of that robot being that deceptive, just like Ash was, that was fun to me. Because at first I was like, oh, it's Ash. Oh, it's called Rook, but it's not Ash. Okay, but then you need to stop looking at that as it's Ian Holm from Alien. You just have to look at it as that's just another android with the horrible programming from Weyland Yutani. And yeah, it looks CGI, but it's like he's me personally. I wouldn't have done Ian Holm. I would have just done a brand new android as well as Andy, just so you would spend the movie not knowing if Andy was going to be the bad android or if this other one was a good robot or bad one, because that would have been a good duality. Because just like Lance Henriksen in Aliens, like it's all the way up until the very end that you don't know if you trust him or not. But the fact that it was Ian Holm and it was just another sinister version of that same robot, I enjoyed. At first, I was like, "Wow, the CGI is not that good." But that's the thing. This movie wasn't insulting to me on that level where it just kept taking me out. Once I got used to it, then anytime he was back on screen, I was enjoying it, because it's like you just drop it, and just focus on what he's saying. But as I said, I wouldn't have done Ian Holm. Just brand new second robot, just to keep the audience guessing. What was my other negative? Although not a negative, but this would have been my personal preference. As I said, all I've wanted was a return to the alien experience. But that being said, the real type of alien I've always wanted them to make since was I for years was just like just Ridley Scott can make his prequels if he wants, but just make a just another brand new movie called Xenomorph, and it can just be set whenever, wherever, and it just does Alien again. That's all I've wanted. Is like, I'm so sick of every movie being like, well, you know what the alien's like, so now we're going to make that less, and we're going to add more just to keep it fresh, keep it new, keep it moving. Where I was like, no, I just want another crew where one person gets a face hugger, and then they're just like, oh god, he's got this parasite on his face. What do we do? And the audience is sitting there going, oh my god, they have no idea what's coming for them, but the characters have no clue. Like, can we go back to adding that to the main characters in your film, where every other film it's like, no, speed through the face hugger and speed through the chest burster and just get to the xenomorph, which was kind of the problem established with Alien versus Predator, because Aliens bounces around the story so much that it's fine if we don't get to see a gestation period, blah 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 blah. Alien 3 kind of does the same thing, where there's just an alien in Ripley the whole time, and you don't know how long a face hugger was on the dog or the ox, depending on which version you've seen. But I was like, just make a movie called Xenomorph. Just make another one called just Xenomorph. That'd be fine. And this movie was basically that. And this movie gave me what I've always just give me more of, which is not more ideas, just show me more of the alien life cycle. I've always wanted to see what happens after the chest burster bursts out and then cocoons into the big one. This movie gave me that. And I never thought in my lifetime I would see the facehuggers done even scarier than aliens. The facehugger has always been a rational fear of mine as an adult. And this movie was like, oh, we're having much more fun with those facehuggers. And like all of that entire sequence where they're swimming around, and then once they start chasing them, and then the facehuggers are finding alternate routes in the spaceship to get to them. That was like, oh, that was so good. And something I really liked is, if you look under the legs of the facehuggers, they've now added these little barbs under their legs to show that once they latch onto you, it's not just the tail that holds them on. They have little barbs that anchor themselves to your face. I was like, oh, that's fucked. Sorry if I'm all over the place. I was going to focus on negatives, but I'm kind of bouncing around what I liked about it as well. I will say this though. I love this movie for the experience, but for the story itself, I probably wouldn't have done that. And you want to know what the true alien Romulus I would have rather have seen was, at the start of this movie, it starts 3 years prior to the main story. Sorry, is the volume down again? Um, what I would have preferred is that, yeah, as I said, this movie starts 3 years prior to the main story. They're floating around the wreckage of the Nostromo after Ripley blew it up, and they find an asteroid or a rock. I'm not sure if the xenomorph in it is the one from the first one, or if there's just all the asteroids around LV-426 just have aliens on them anyway, but they're all like cocooned or they're asleep or whatever. So this movie starts where they get the asteroid that has an alien in it to take back to Romulus labs, and then it goes 3 years later. Like, they have this whole sequence where they crack it open and they only take half of it, and the camera goes under what was left, and it turns out that's where the alien was, and whatever they took away probably just had some extra DNA in it, but whatever. Then it cuts to 3 years later, and it's like, all right, now to some mining planet where some kids want to get off the planet for a better life, and there's the wreckage of the Romulus ships floating around this planet, and they're going to go up to that and steal cryotubes, and then they can go to hypersleep to get out of there. The movie I would have preferred would be all set in the Romulus laboratory before it cuts to 3 years later. That's the film I would have preferred. Because I feel like Alien 1 is truckers in space. They're just blue-collar workers that get thrown into this. Aliens is the Marines, so now they send the army or the military to LV-426 to deal with whatever the report Ellen Ripley said. Alien 3 is set on a prison planet, so it's a bunch of weirdo criminals and rapists, and then they are not ready for some kind of fucking space dragon be running around. And then Alien 3 is Alien Resurrection is just like balls to the wall, over the top in terms of his plot. But it was still a very big movie, which I kind of liked. What I wanted to see was a whole movie set in that lab. I want to see a whole movie of scientists dealing with the xenomorph, and then the whole movie is not. It's not. Oh, we've discovered stuff there's a black goo that leads to the Prometheus planet. Like, that's in this movie, and I'll get to that in a minute. But what I would rather have seen was, what does it look like in the laboratory when they actually have the xenomorphs and they're studying them and they're dissecting them and they're figuring them out. That's what I wanted to see. But this is where I'm kind of giving this movie so much slack, is because after all, where the prequels kind of took this, and like, I'll say that the Alien vs. Predator franchise itself completely derailed where this was going. This does the Force Awakens thing where it's like, all right, let's just get us back on track and just give the audience the Alien experience again, which I got, which is what I'm fine with. My personal preference, I would rather this be all set in the Romulus lab from start to finish when they find that asteroid. But that being said, why I'm giving this movie slack and credit is because all it had to do was get us back on track. So now they can make another Alien movie and then start expanding again. Like Aliens. Just bring it back, and then we can move forward. Where the more they keep trying to duct tape this with every problem and try to get bigger and ignore what just happened with the prequels and like even Alien vs. Predator, like that kind of just changes way too much from the logic of Alien and Aliens. This movie was like, let's just get us back on track. The connection to Prometheus, on the other hand, I want to bring up Ridley Scott for a second. And this is kind of going to be like a pseudo apology. And as I said early in the stream, which I'm not sure if how many people there for that. When I reviewed the Alien prequels, I was in such nerd rage mode, and that was my biggest problems with them. Was I was just a pissed off fanboy. As the years have gone on and I've stopped reviewing stuff and stopped being so negative towards film, I've kind of been like reassessing Ridley Scott's career in a different way than how dare he do to the Alien franchise what he did. And I'm more looking at like, this guy doesn't care because this guy's kind of earned everything he does. When you want to look at Ridley Scott, yes, he went back to the Alien franchise and completely threw it out the window. But that was a little blip on his massive career. And after that, it doesn't matter if we trashed his Alien prequels. He's not listening. He doesn't care because then he makes 3 blockbusters a year. I don't know. I have not seen them. I don't know if they make money or not. But he is constantly making these massive movies. And he doesn't give a shit. And then I was like, well, yeah, there's kind of no point to trashing him then because he doesn't care. And then the reason why I kind of dropped my hate for him was basically a cultural thing. If I'm going to remain angry at him and what he did to Alien, then I have to log that with what I hate with what they've done to the Terminator franchise, what they've done to the Star Wars franchise, all these other franchises from my childhood that they keep dragging back with the old actors, with new kids who are the siblings of those characters, but they do the same thing, but they try to insult the fans by going like, oh, you're an idiot if you thought we're expecting the exact same. This is where I've kind of like dropped all that hate. That being said, once this movie immediately connected to Prometheus, my reaction wasn't, you've ruined it. It was more like kind of, I don't know what the story is, but I was more picturing Scott was in the development of this. And he's like, you can make whatever fucking movie you want to. I don't give a shit, just as long as you don't ignore my prequel movies. You have to connect it, or I'll fucking bottle you. I was kind of like, all right, if it was not that, it was either Fede Alvarez going, I love the whole Alien franchise. I'm not going to just ignore everything. Although he would clearly ignore Alien versus Predator. So I was kind of just like, okay, we're doing Prometheus as well. But then I was like, you know what? As long as there wasn't complete abandonment, I was fine with it. Because I love how it didn't do the Prometheus thing where it completely diverted the plot into its own thing. It was just like, oh yeah, there's black goo that we mined out of the face huggers, and we've been speeding up what we can do with it because the Covenant was set, I don't know, like a couple of 100 years prior. And I do have to admit, once that pregnant chick, they give her one of the vials of black goo to be like, here, this will perfect your DNA to stop you from dying. And then the main chick's like, no, that's fucked. Don't do that. And then she does it on her own. I went and saw this with a mate, and I turned to him and was just like, oh my God, if she injects herself and then something happens to the baby in her gut, I was like so stoked because I'm like, yes, just keep going disgusting, go completely messed up with whatever this thing you're dancing around with. And then she injects herself, and then we put her away for a while. We don't show you what happens to her, and then it's just back to dealing with the xenomorph. And to all the Prometheus fans that are currently watching, I hate to say this, but the pregnancy birth scene in this completely destroyed the one in Prometheus. I'm sorry to say, but Prometheus was cool because it's like, oh, there's a squid inside it. But then the movie kept going. You're like, wait, what's the squid? And then, wait, the squid's a face hugger, but it's so big. But then it produces a blue dolphin alien that's not quite a xenomorph. But then, all right, maybe we'll see that in a sequel. And then the sequel comes and it's like, no, we're not wrapping that up at all. Where I was like, is that the queen alien as a pup? Was that? And then you see this Alien Covenant, and they do not address it at all. And then you complain about that on the internet, and everyone's like, actually, if you go to Wikipedia, you'll know that thing turned into a mountain. And it's like, oh, that's cool. Nice. I've always wanted to see an alien become a mountain. In this movie, apologies if I sound biased, but like, you win me over if your ideas are messed up. In terms of not just someone just explodes and you see complete detail of the gore. If it's a messed up idea, she gives birth to this disgusting, kind of looks like an alien egg. And then once it popped out of her, I was like, oh my God, what the hell is this going to be? Is this going to be like... I honestly did not know what to expect. And then it opened up and then there was a human baby inside. That seriously just won me over in that moment. I was like, oh my god, what the fuck is this? But then it slowly started to morph into an engineer alien hybrid moron. Like an animalistic dumb version of the engineer. A lot of hindsight and thinking about the movie afterwards, it's like my personal preference, I would not have ever connected it to Prometheus. I would have just been like, nah, let's just go back to aliens, go back to alien rules. But whatever, if there was a gun forced to Fede's head to connect this to Prometheus, just in case Ridley wanted to get back to his alien prequels, I was like, you know what, fair enough. Because when you kind of look at the Prometheus connection, it's really only the third act, and I think it's dividing a lot of people. But whether or not you didn't like that, it was kind of a ballsy third act for this movie, because it was the only thing that was truly different enough that didn't make it just a complete carbon copy of what Alien 1 was, and even Aliens. I kind of hope going forward that Fede Alvarez can make another Alien and then just do whatever he wants. And you know what? I'm going to say this, despite my entire era of trashing the prequels on the internet, I still want Ridley to make his third wrap-up movie. I'll still watch it. I just my biggest frustration with his prequels is that it just never gets to Alien 1 yet. But everything it introduces is so annoying and confusing that it's like, when is it ever going to get back to Alien? It was my opinion when the Neil Blomkamp Alien started doing the news on the internet, and I think at the time Ridley Scott was like, he didn't get it. He's like, no, we don't have to fucking make any more Alien. It's just my movies. We stick to mine. Make it one franchise. But then the internet was kind of very, very much pushing for Blomkamp to make his one as well. And it sounded like he was coming around to the idea. And I was like, you know what? Fine, fair enough. Just do that. Just you didn't make your prequels, but can we have just a back to basics Alien running series with this, just so we can have the best of both worlds? And I feel like that's what this movie will be doing. It's doing very well at the box office. Guaranteed they're going to make another one. And I reckon Ridley was like, okay, cool. So I'll get back to my prequels eventually, but in the meantime, you can make your stupid little retro movies that pretend to be my original. Yeah, sorry, I'm on a tangent. That's because it's 3 a.m. here. I might just go to the chat now, because I've been ignoring it. And we'll start bouncing around like what you guys think as well. But I will say this, as I'm having to admit here how I've dropped all my nerd hate, where I don't get the complete hate for this movie, because it feels like the internet itself has now become just a hive of nitpickers and negativity. And the only reason I'm not ranting about this and yelling at you all for hating this movie is because I feel like I was just contributing to that for the past however many years, and I feel like I've grown out of being so angry at anything that comes out, that now I'm like, I just want to focus on positives, and if it does its job as a movie, that's all I need. Because that kind of started the start of this year, where Furiosa comes out and the movie's brilliant, and then everyone's like, yeah, but we didn't want a prequel to that character. We wanted another Mad Max movie. And it's like, yeah, but if you watch Furiosa, it is such a brilliant movie. Oh, I don't care though. It's like, well, fine. And that movie bombed, and then we're not going to get another Mad Max anyway. So, and I was kind of like just watching that about Alien Romulus. I was like, oh my god, every Alien fan's going to love this. That's what I was thinking walking out of the cinema. And then the second I got home, it's just like, oh, it's just all member berries. It's all member berries. And it's like, what the hell movie did you see? It felt like an Alien film to me. I feel like I had a point and I just completely abandoned it. Anyway, I'm gonna start backtracking some comments here. Also, I'm sorry. I was gonna keep drawing, but I couldn't even focus on it because I was too busy thinking about my thoughts. All right, so I'm scrolling up to comments. Actually, there's too much. Starting now, comment questions or comment your opinions, and I'll start bouncing off of what everyone else is saying. For what I can see so far, it seems Ridley Scott would be more welcoming of The Thing than Predator. Oh, we all talking about what he should make. Nothing has come close to the Queen Egg Facehugger Alien Warrior. It's clean to the point, no need to try and figure it out as perfect. So funny, I was talking to my mate afterwards and he was like, he loves aliens. I kind of have to look at the first two as like, one was this passion project that was floating around for a while and they had different people involved. And then it all clicked once Ridley joined, and then they made it. And then along comes James Cameron and just writes the second one and directs the second one, and becomes one of the greatest sequels of all time. And he didn't let anyone else's prior, except for Sigourney Weaver, have any input on where the story was going. But he was like, he was kind of pissed off by the whole Prometheus black goo coming back, and he's like, "Yeah, the Queen Alien, it was perfect. Why did they have to change that?" How do you feel about Alien Romulus? I enjoyed it. From start to finish, I just loved the atmosphere. I loved the violence, and I loved the retro 4x3 computer monitors. But like the aliens themselves and the face huggers, the chest burster, even the chest burster scene was like great. That is always the quickest moment in every sequel. It bursts out. You don't see it until the grown one's back. But the chest burster in this, they really showed it like wriggling out of the chest and like kind of coming out of its own little blood sack. And as I said before, I loved what they did with the face huggers. I think the way James Cameron shot the face huggers in the original is very tight. But in terms of the story setting of what they did with the face hug in this, I loved it. And I also loved as I said before, the little barbs they put under the legs to show that it truly anchors itself to your head once it latches on. And they're just disgusting. And something I did love is they finally addressed, I think it's in the original, but they never ever bring it up again, is that the face hugger knocks you out with some chemical that's on his little dick tongue. In this one, it gets on a guy's face for a bit, and the little dick is like going in and out of his mouth, and like he throws it off, but then he immediately falls asleep. Like a little bit of whatever the face hugger squeezes out got in his mouth, and he like passed out. So then it became tension to get him out of there. People are so fucking nitpicky. I swear, it's so annoying. Yeah, to me, it's like the Alien prequels are so complex with where they divert the series that there's a lot to not like in it. Where I feel like this movie takes it so back to basics that it's like all the one-liners they bring back from other movies. As I said earlier, like I hated them when they said it, but then it wasn't enough to suck me out of the film because they say the line and then they move on and it's back to the plot. It didn't bother me that much, except for the "get away from her, you bitch" line. I was like, that's not earning this. But I did love the Rook android being like, "I can't tell you about your chances, but you have my sympathies." It's like I really really liked Andy in this. I think Andy's a fan favorite because the David AI stuff was just so over the top. Like he's the first ever AI, and then for the next 200 years, all the other AIs are just mundane robot people. But I loved Andy literally just being a smartphone. Like, she's just this girl's like phone basically that she grew up with, and she loves her phone. But it's like, no, you can literally program something else into your phone and be like, oh, all the settings are different. Like, I really enjoyed that aspect. And I liked when he started talking to Rook and with the new chip in his neck, and Rook's basically saying, you've got new directives now, and this is what you're going to follow. And he's like, okay, I'm just a phone. I'll go along with that. It's like, damned if you do, damned if you don't. There's just no possibility of making an alien movie that satisfies everyone. Well, this movie, it like, you can hate the Prometheus connection and you can hate the callback lines, but it's like, come on, as Alien fans, we ate so good with this one. And it's done a great reset. We've got another Alien movie, a brand new Alien movie that took it all the way back to basics. Yes, it had to connect to Prometheus, which I'm still speculating if whether or not there was a lot of behind the scenes politics to force Fede Alvarez to do that, or if he just wanted to because he had all this respect for Ridley Scott, because Ridley Scott's also a producer on this, keep in mind. But like, it just, in terms of getting back on track, like, this is like Bumblebee, where it's such a perfect reset. And now, as I said, we can go in a Romulus sequel direction, and we can make Ridley Scott's third prequel movie. Like, thank God they've done this. I have no idea what this Alien Hulu show is going to be like. I hope it's good, but that's just been discussed for ages that I don't even think about it, really. Romulus is my third favorite movie in the series. That zero gravity scene was fantastic. Yeah, man. That it's another thing I like about Fede Alvarez. He's clearly like a millennial tech head, and none of these movies address anti-gravity up until now. And it's just like, why don't we have fun with anti-gravity? Because I remember in the trailer, like, I saw her floating around all this like yellow stuff. I'm like, oh, what the hell? Wonder what the hell that is. I was like, oh, it turns out that's alien blood, and they had to turn on anti-gravity just so it wouldn't touch the walls yet. Do you have any hope for the Terminator anime? Hey, it's a cartoon. It's a cartoon that looks like it was made by passionate people, so you can't really... I don't know how much it can ruin the franchise like the live action sequels have. Romulus was my most anticipated movie of the year, and also my biggest disappointment. I am a huge Fede fan and a huge Alien fan. My only expectations were a Fede Alien movie, and I only got hints of it. Sucks to be you. Alien Romulus definitely should have been set after Aliens, or even after Alien 3, instead of in between Alien. I don't mind its setting at all. But this movie does what Prey did, which I love so much. It's like, we don't have to divert so far away into the future. Like that god awful The Predator, where it's like, well, you have to make a contemporary modern day version, so let's just... What do we got? Oh, autism's popular. Let's have the Predator be here for autism. And a kid can operate Predator technology like it's a Disney movie. I liked Prey's approach of like, the Predator has been hunting on Earth for centuries. Let's just pick an era. How about the first time it's on Earth? And it doesn't ruin Predator lore at all. It doesn't divert that franchise at all. And surprisingly... I love Predator 2, and I never ever thought I'd see any of these movies pay a nice homage to Predator 2. Alright, so I think I've given up on drawing, so I'm just gonna... How about this? I'm just gonna make that bigger. It'll be the whole screen now. Sorry, I honestly did not know this many people would be watching after me being absent for 6 months. There's a lot of messages, a lot of comments here. Chords, you got any funnel webs or xenomorphs down under? Xenomorphs, no. Funnel webs, yes. But funnel web spiders are only located in Sydney. And I love the fact that they're only located in Sydney, because they are the most terrifying spider to walk this planet. Do you think we get hints to the utopian planet for the next one, or does she not make it there at all? So, this is the thing. The purest the Alien franchise is to me is 1 to 4. It's the Ripley arc. Because this is the thing, as I said prior, where we went through this era in the 2010s where they're doing soft reboots of everything. But now we've gotten to that era where these franchises have just been milked to beyond that of, it's no longer nostalgia. It's now pure course correction. And the Star Wars franchise is like, it's like, I just don't care anymore. Like, the only interest I have of Star Wars is I will just watch the first 3 again. And that's just not, it's just like the opinion of the stuff that I've just kind of grown out of, where the way I see these franchises, you have the original run back when it started, and it was still had that momentum with sequels, and then it stops. And kind of throughout the 2000s, they're like, we got this. We can't let these franchises die. There's got to be something we can do. And then, that comes the Alien vs Predator movies. We're out of ideas with the main story, because by that point, Alien Resurrection is set 250 years in the future from Alien. It's so far beyond anywhere to return to. The Alien vs Predator movies are too basic. They're too popcorny to really take seriously. So I know they have their fans, but I would never ever refer to the Alien vs Predator movies in terms of what they contributed to the lore of this franchise. Then you get past that, and then you go to the Alien prequels, and it's like, whoa, Ridley's back. Whoa, oh, exciting! The Master is back. He's gonna get it back on track. But then he just completely goes in the opposite direction, where he finds the alien the least interesting part. Then that felt like that all fizzled out. Now I'm at this point where I'm like, you know what? If they just want to make a course-corrected Alien movie to get away from all that, to just give you the experience again, that's what I'm fine with. That's why I love Prey. The Predator franchise, it's like the Predator is, it's like they never cared after 2, really. I mean, Predators is I see that as a fan film. But obviously fans made it, and they didn't make it cynically, although I just don't like that movie. But then through the Alien vs Predator movies, and then the Predators, they just gave up. But then you get to Prey, and that was another great one. It got all the way back to basics. It didn't add anything to the Predator, and actually what worked with that movie, it's actually what they reduced. They're like, well, this is a Predator that was around to however many 100 years ago. So it isn't even going to be as advanced as it was in the 1980s film. And with this film, it's like cool, just get us, they can make more Alien movies now following this one, and I hope that they can kind of learn from the mistakes of this one. But now they can make more Alien movies, and if Fede Alvarez can make another one, and I'll be there for, opening night, because he still earned my trust. He probably not the strongest character director, but he knows horror, and he knows atmosphere, and he knows what he's doing. This was always going to be a very great, effective Alien movie. It's not going to be the be-all end-all Alien sequel we all wanted, but this is the thing. They don't make good masterpieces anymore. They don't make those anymore. Especially tired old franchises. They don't make... nothing will be a better sequel than Aliens. We're just never getting that. Especially in this day and age with nerd culture and fandom. Everything's been picked apart. Everything has been overanalyzed and over-discussed. We're never getting an Aliens quality sequel. Alien Romulus did what I would all I wanted. I just wanted the Alien experience again. The Evil Dead remake. It gave me the Evil Dead experience, because by that point, all we had was Army of Darkness as the last entry. Don't get me wrong, I think Army of Darkness is better than the Evil Dead remake. But look, but treat this like the Evil Dead franchise. Like they were able to reboot it or remake it, but then they made sure not to be like, this is the young version of Ash and the other characters. It was just another Evil Dead movie. The way I see this movie, it's just another Alien movie, and I'm absolutely fine with it being set in between Alien 1 and 2. And if what I could say moving forward, I would be completely fine with another movie just being another story set whenever of just new people running across the xenomorphs. I would be fine with that. If they want to make an actual sequel where these characters come back, fine, but I just don't. I feel like Aliens only works because of how they wrote Ellen Ripley in the first one, and James Cameron just had the best ideas of where to take that character. I don't think any of the characters in this one outside of Andy were strong enough that would have a great character arc in a second movie. But that's a big we'll see. But if the next Alien movie, if they set that after 3, they're never setting it anywhere close to Alien Resurrection, so don't even worry about that. But it's just like, just set it over different eras. I'd be fine with that. Different people running across different aliens, different time settings. That's what I'd be fine with. Ugh. How have you been all this time, Cause? Got any thoughts on James Cameron and his mixed reception towards the 4K treatment of True Lies, Aliens in the Abyss? Just been dealing with life. The cost of living is kind of horrible at the moment. Every country, America's definitely going through that. We're definitely going through that in Australia. Definitely going through a rental crisis where the goddamn rent gets jacked up every time our lease gets renewed. But basically been trying to focus on my film career, and I've been doing a whole bunch of projects. Last year I joined a feature film from Melbourne as just a rotoscope artist. And I was like rotoscoping for, I think, 2 months straight, and then right at the last minute, the main visual effects artist quit, and then I was bumped up to head of visual effects very quickly. But anyway, that's let me plug that. The Emu War, currently streaming on Amazon Prime. That's what I was doing for all of the second half of last year. I was the lead visual effects artist, so other visual effects artists on that film. Great bunch of guys. The McFarlane brothers. They've got a very successful YouTube channel. Go check them out. But that was my big project of last year, and this year I've mostly been doing visual effects jobs here and there, as well as developing some of my own stuff. Prey was too boring for me. I quit about 40 minutes in. Fucking hell. I mean, I could discuss Prey. I loved Prey, and the backlash to that film I could not fathom. I'm like, oh my god, we've got Predator back. Why would you hate this? Although, if anyone wanted my opinion on the face of the Predator in that, I was disappointed, but that was an instance where what they did with the Predator, I love so much that I could literally forgive the face. Like all the Predator's weapons in Prey, I thought was so interesting, as being precursor to the advanced tech it has by the time the first movie comes around. The original Alien is where I find the alien to be at its most threatening and terrifying. I really want another film like that. I mean, I hate to say this because I don't want it to come across as a negative to the first Alien. But when you really think about it, the first Alien movie is only terrifying once it's the xenomorph, because the best part of Alien 1 is all the planet exploration and the facehugger. and the chest burster. Once the alien grows to full size, it's basically they don't know where it is until it pops up and kills them. Where Aliens comes along and it's like, all right, these things can jump around the walls. You don't know where they are. They can swarm, and they can kidnap you to take them back to their disgusting rape wall of stickiness. But like in terms of an alien movie, I reckon like this new movie delivers just as much as the original Alien did. I loved all the animatronics in it too. Even the behind the set video of the actual animatronic they built, I was like, oh my god, it's so detailed and it can actually jump around. I liked Romulus a lot. I like Fede Alvarez a lot. However, I am sad to never see the end of the David story from Prometheus and Covenant. Hey man, as I said before, the fact that this movie connects to Prometheus, I reckon that was Ridley was planting that just to be like, let's just see what the nerds want. If they want to just make another Alien movie that's the same, that'll just make sure that there is still interest in the Alien franchise itself. And I reckon he's going to be back with it with the prequel conclusion. Because I will see it. I want to see it as well. Because I'm like, oh, just what were you planning? Like 2 movies in, and you'll just be like, oh, you'll see. It's like, if you're going to say that the third one's the final one, just show me what you got then. I wish they would inject some comedy back into the Evil Dead movies. Well, this is the thing. That's what I was saying about this Alien franchise. It's now split in 2 directions now. Now you can have a straightforward, serious horror franchise with Evil Dead and Evil Dead Rise, and I really liked Evil Dead Rise. But they just gave us the Ash vs. Evil Dead TV show, which is so many more hours of what you love about the Ash character. It's great being an Evil Dead fan because Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, and Robert Tappert all produced all of it, and they care about us fans. So I don't think they have it in them to completely disappoint the Evil Dead fans. But like Ash might be back. We never know. Rhino Alien and Crocodile Alien and Dutch Alien. Dutch Oven. Are you excited for Superman Legacy? Yes, I am. Not for any actual reason. It's just I like James Gunn's movies, and he seems like one of the biggest nerds, comic book nerds, that gets to write and direct his own movies as the singular vision. And I'm very, very interested to see his Superman. Can't wait to see what he does. Emu War, yes, the Emu War. Look it up on Amazon Prime, and I think it's on YouTube to rent as well. It's very Australian. It's got a lot of untoward jokes in it. It's not for grandma and grandpa. I personally love it. When Lieutenant Jangles 2, it jangles too. No. Well, this is the thing. Also announcing now, though, that's going to be coming out soon. Lieutenant Jangles, my feature film we shot nearly a decade ago, is also on Amazon Prime for free. It just got put on Amazon Prime for free after hounding the distribution company to finally get it out on streaming, because Lieutenant Jangles had an incredible film festival run. We won lots of awards at different genre festivals. We've put out our main Blu-ray was put out by Umbrella Entertainment, but then we've also got an American release through Vinegar Syndrome, and now it's finally been put on Amazon Prime for free, and we're going to do a new marketing campaign for that soon. Yeah, I'm the worst. I just wish it was faster to the killing, etc., but I love the Predator in that movie. Oh, talking about Prey. Man, I just loved all of Prey because it felt felt back to basics, but it felt like a nice, fresh new setting and type of characters to experience this through. And watching the internet, all these fucking idiot incel morons be like, oh, it's a little tiny baby girl. How did she defeat the predator with her tiny little woman arms and hands? And it's like, are we forgetting that all the muscles in Predator 1 ultimately resulted in being completely pointless, and then Schwarzenegger's character had to resort to tricking the Predator with the environment? It's literally the same thing. It's just she didn't have muscles. And a dong. The new Predator face design should have at least stayed practical. There was some behind the scenes shots of the Predator face being fully practical. I completely agree. And there's this thing I'm kind of getting sick of with CGI monster faces. When they roar, they make all the like everything in its throat jiggles. You can see that in those new Godzilla movies. Every time it roars, it's like everything, its entire neck vibrates. It's like, I mean, look at real big animals when they roar. There's too much second guessing going on. And yeah, the animatronic Predator face from those behind the scenes look great. I don't know why they changed it. Because then you look at this movie and like they nailed the alien in this. Even from memory, there's not many shots that stick out to me as CGI. I know there were, especially the swarms of aliens. But for the most part, they filmed that for real, which has to be the best thing as an editor, to like actually see these things on camera, and that's the footage you're working with, where you don't have to wait months for like, oh, don't worry, we'll put the real thing in later. This is just an idea. So I would have loved to have imagine being George Miller's wife editing the Mad Max and Furiosa, like getting to see that footage come in, and that's what you're editing. You'd be like, oh my god. I just want to show every angle of what you filmed. I'm going to say it. Alien 1 is the worst. Alien 1 is one of the most beautifully shot movies. And Alien 1, just like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and Scarface, is one of the most naturally acted movies, to the point where you don't even know if there was a script or not. Like, it's one of those movies where you're not watching actors saying lines to push the plot forward. You're just watching people by that point. I think that's why you care about them so much. Nothing in the way they act in those movies feels plot pushy at all. So no negativity towards bad movies, but all the negativity towards the fans. Welcome to Disney. I mean, it's Disney. It got to make that money. If it made money before, it can again. But that being said, like, I'm only invested in Alien and Deadpool and Wolverine. That new Planet of the Apes movie was excellent. That movie gave me so much relief. I was like, oh, thank God those new Planet of the Apes movies can still consistently be high quality. And that was a great movie. Some of the most fantastic motion capture CGI currently out there, and I'm so stoked about that. And they can make 3 more of those, please. Anyone else read anything on the Alien novels? I wish they'd make some of those into movies. Phalanx, in particular, would be incredible to see. Yeah, I know nothing about the extended literature. I just like the creature lurking in the shadows. The scene where it drops down from the ceiling to kill Brett still creeps me out. I also love that scene, how it's like just perpetually dripping water everywhere. Not Alien, but quick thoughts on Transformers Rise of the Beasts. Ugh. I was so disappointed with that one. It just felt like it had no soul. It just felt like a movie made by committee. It was just trying to please everyone. And the final product it wasn't like offensive or insulting. It just felt like a Saturday morning cartoon show, like Villain of the Week. It just didn't have any grit or any good ideas in it. It just felt too safe. which was to his detriment because it's just such an unspecific movie. I've heard a lot of people say the first is scarier. I think that's the only case because we didn't know what it was at the time. We now know what the Xeno is even better than the creator. Evil Dead series is one of the most solid horror franchises. I enjoyed all of it. Yeah, I had such a fun time with Evil Dead Rise. Another example of like I don't need an Evil Dead movie to completely mess up the lore and take it in some ridiculous brand new direction to keep it fresh. I just give me the experience again. I'm getting to the point where like I don't care about the pop cultural like elements of it. It's just give me the experience. I think maybe like Cocaine Bear, not in tone, but how they treated the danger of the bear. I tried watching Cocaine Bear and I think I turned it off halfway through because I was like, my ADHD was like, hey, look, other distractions to follow. Thanks, Chords. That movie is so quintessentially Australian. Bought original release Kickstarter DVD, Blu-ray. Oh, you're talking about Jangles. And re-release version 2. Is the American cut different compared to these two? No. The Vinegar Syndrome copy of Jangles is the same as the Umbrella release. Because Umbrella have some connection to Vinegar Syndrome, so we were able to just get an American release. Like the covers and slipcase are different. The Blu-ray menus are different, but the movie itself's the Umbrella version, which is the best version. And I actually I highly recommend you toss out your Kickstarter original Blu-ray because that version of the film is so inferior because we went back and we tweaked the edit. We cut out a lot of things that didn't work. I fixed the color grade. I fixed a lot of the visual effects shots. And we made it a bit much more tied up. My only real gripe is that a lot of the shots of the Xenomorph were just still shots with flashing lights until the elevator scene. Well, I mean, that's what the original was. You didn't really see it do anything until the Ripley was in the escape pod at the end. That being said, if I ever got the chance to make an alien movie, like this movie wasn't how I would do it, I'm starting to clutch onto any film that comes out now that still gives me the fun movie going experience, which is why I can't hate this one. Aliens to me is the definitive ending for Ripley. I'll agree to that. Oh shit, the Prodigal Son returns to YouTube. I've been thinking about coming back, but I just don't have it in me anymore to write the scripts and record them and then edit them and put out those punchy videos. Like I'm so busy with actual film work now that it's just it's like doubling up on the same process. Wouldn't mind coming back to do live streams like this. Just I much prefer discussing stuff rather than having to write like just a full script and then come up with the plot structure of the script and add jokes and add all this stuff. I attempted to make a Madam Web review, and oh my god, I watched that movie twice for it, and I wrote I think 7 pages of a script, and this thing in my body just stopped. It's like, I don't care about Madam Web. And then I never went back to it. But if anyone wants my opinion, that movie sucks. I don't know who that movie was even made for. What Sony are doing with the Spider-Man universe. Ugh. Rise of the Beast action felt flat compared to Bumblebee. Man, we 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 didn't deserve Bumblebee. In all this hindsight, we didn't deserve that movie. That movie was the perfect reset for that franchise. And Travis Knight being an animation director, like the way he frames the Transformers in that movie, he frames them like they're characters, and or he frames them like they're actors in the scene. And all the action is tight and just ugh, that yeah. I'm so happy Bumblebee exists, but it's just I was hoping it was that reset of that franchise to get it back on track, but then Rise of the Beast was just like, nah, all the way back, and now they're doing Transformers crossover with G.I. Joe, and it's like, all right, goodbye, we're done. They'll never get that back on track now, because I'm only stopping by because I'm literally on my way to the theater to see the new Aliens, so I don't want to hear any spoilers by mistake. Oh, here, get out of here. Thank God you haven't been listening to however long this has been going for. Ironically, it's like Alien Romulus, I don't think should have the backlash because of its spoilers, because that's what he just keeps saying. It's the experience. You're just watching a bunch of people trapped on a space station unaware of this threat, and you just watch them all get picked off one by one because they have no idea what they're dealing with. I really like the scene where it emerges from the pod, but the music was just too much. The music never really stuck out to me as a problem. I loved the beginning of the film, like when the ship turns on and like all those sound effects from the original start blasting with all the computers turning on. Like I don't see any of that as member berries. I feel like that's all details to make you go back to that universe and that atmosphere. Because I think you get a bit of that at the start of Aliens, but like Alien 1 has such a great style with its cinematography and sound design and an art direction, that this movie was such a great getting back to that, because I think Aliens by design immediately goes different in a completely different way. We're not on a spaceship. We're on a facility on a planet that makes atmosphere. So it's just basically a giant nuclear reactor facility. Forgive me, it's 3:30 in the morning. I hated the ending of Romulus. The engineer hybrid looked horrible. Well, I think that just goes with the fact that it was a connection to Prometheus. But hey, it did Alien Resurrection better. You can steal ideas from Alien Resurrection. I'll be fine with it, just as long as you do it better. But that being said, like I didn't walk out of the cinema going, oh, what did that mean? Is the DNA engineer in the xenomorphs as well? I didn't care about that at all, so I didn't think about it. I didn't bother thinking about it. It's really nice to see you back, Bart. I showed my girlfriend your nun video, and she can't stop saying, oh look, it's the nun. I'm glad you like it. Who's excited for Conjuring 4? No, I don't have a Letterboxd. I don't get Letterboxd. I don't understand it. It's just like a Twitter for film reviewers. I'll give the new release a viewing, but man, I love the original. I'll let you know what I think when I see it. Thanks for all the work you guys have put into it. Felt very 80s and it hit the spot. The new version of Jangles is the better version. I just made a new trailer for the Amazon Prime release with the new color grade, and I for kicks went and watched the previous trailer we made 4 years ago, and I was like, oh my god, the color grade on the previous version was horrible. What do you think of the CGI deepfake Rook in Romulus? Yeah, it was obvious. Yeah, it's deep fake. It wasn't CGI. But like, it took it. I immediately got over it because I was like, okay, so what's this character doing in this story? And watching Rook like manipulate it as it was going on. Because Evil Ash is fun. But as I said earlier in the stream, I wouldn't have done that personally. But I don't know. I enjoyed it as it went on, especially later on, where once most of the characters know he's betrayed them all, and the pregnant chick is on the little space, the little cruiser ship, and he pops up on the screen. He's like lying to her. He's just like, "Oh, I'm gonna help you get out of here because I'm your friend." I was like, "You piece of shit." Are you excited for Venom 3? Oh my god, I can't stomach those Venom movies. I saw Venom Let There Be Carnage, and I thought it was one of the worst things I've ever seen. It didn't even feel like a movie. It just felt like someone just vomiting directly into your eyes. In the trailer for 3, I'm like, I don't get this franchise anymore. It's not the Venom I wanted. It wasn't the Venom I grew up with. And I do not care about Venom Horse. There are comics called Alien Space Marines. Each one has Ripley, Apone, Bishop, Hicks, etc., but introduces different breeds of the aliens like Gorilla Alien, Bull Alien, Scorpion Alien, Rhino Alien. Can I just throw out my hot take, which might lose a lot of people? With the hindsight of the Alien franchise after all these years, after all these sequels, and especially Prometheus taking this concept and just completely running with it, I think one of the maybe saying one of the worst things is too hyperbolic, but I kind of just don't like Alien 3 establishing that the xenomorph crossbreeds with different hosts, because it gets to that point of like, well, is there an actual alien species that's, does this create a new species of alien? Like, does a facehugger jump on a dog and then produce a dog alien, and that dog alien turns into a queen dog alien, and then its facehuggers, do they jump on a human again and then give you a normal human alien, or is it now a dog human alien? See, I'd be all for different races of xenomorph just in general. Like, I haven't read the comics, but I'm a big fan of NECA action figures, and I've seen that they made there's like a red variant from one of the comics, and like, do something like that. Don't have it be like depending on its host. Just have it be a different breed of alien, and just in general, it doesn't need a host to dictate what it is. I would prefer that than, because it's like the Pred alien. Does that mean it's just now a race of predator aliens? But if it makes a facehugger that jumps on a human again, I don't know. I feel like that's just too much. I much prefer like just the alien is what you get. And I'd be all for the alien keeps going through metamorphosis in its life cycle. That's how I justify the warrior alien in Aliens. It's like, at first it's the one with the dome on its head because it's still kind of fresh, the drone alien, but the longer it's alive, it then goes through like a second cycle and hardens more, and then the dome comes off, and then the underskull is more rigid. Like, I'd prefer that as its life cycle in terms of having a different type of alien. I prefer the newborn from Alien Resurrection. But that being said, I like that element of Alien Resurrection too. I never hated that part of that movie, because that's, as I just complained before, that's not a facehugger jumping on a different host. That's literally crossbreeding DNA. I just don't like it when horror movies use a big dramatic choir and orchestral track during a scene that would be far more creepier with subdued music. Yeah, I agree. I can't think of any examples in Romulus, but I agree with that. I as I keep talking about my film Jangles, I was working on the new trailer, and every time I make a trailer, I have with the sound mix, I have just a track of dialogue and just a track of sound effects because the music of the trailer is completely different. So you want all those tracks clean. And as I was skipping through the film minus the music, I was watching the opening shootout scene. I was like, "Oh god, this works better without music. What have we done?" But no, I'm not. We're not touching Jangles anymore. That has been worked on enough. Now available for free on Amazon Prime. Thoughts on the Xeno catching Rain for some weird personal vendetta reason when she fell down the elevator shaft? Catching Rain? Oh, the character. Yeah, so like that's another thing I would find more interesting with the Xenomorph, not in terms of changing its biological backstory as flipping the franchise on its head, but if you make make the Xenomorph have an interesting new kind of characteristic, I'm all for. So I liked in this movie where they actually said if you point this gun at the alien, it'll recognize it and it'll back off. And I like that. It's like, okay, these things are clearly more smarter than we give them credit for once they become full size. So they can actually recognize what a gun is. That was something I found interesting. And the alien catching her at the end, that's another example of like I like that because then that's a character motivation of the creature that you can start thinking about. I don't know if it was a personal vendetta, maybe it was just I don't know. I don't know what it was. I didn't hate it. Imagine if it was like you just need the alien to like be around humans long enough and then they grow to like them. No, don't do that. That's stupid. Don't worry about it. I figured I said that. I wish Rook was a full blown animatronic like Bishop from Alien 3. That could have worked. We it's like they have the technology for animatronics. Like look at the Chucky series. The series that's currently out, which hopefully will get a season 4. It's the best animatronic that puppet's ever been. And it's just, you just keep working on the technology of animatronics. That's never going to die. It's just you're just going to be lazier at them if you decide to build one because you think CGI will just do what's needed to be done. I wish Neil Blomkamp got to make his Alien film with Sigourney Weaver. I do too. I would honestly be fine if that was immediately follow this up. If they rang him up and like, all right, let's make another Alien sequel to Romulus and we'll get you to make that. People like going back to basics, it turns out. Because like nerds are hating on this film just for like its callbacks, I guess, and just being too samey as the first two. But like, I think Alien Covenant got much more destroyed by critics when that came out, just because that movie overall was just confusing. Not confusing, but like frustrating. I think it's like the Thing taking on the characteristics of the host, so nobody knows what the Xeno's true form even looks like, really, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like what HR Giga design should just always be the be all end all Xenomorph design. I don't think it should stray too much. That being said, I have a James Cameron bias, so I liked what he did. And I think the Queen Alien design, you want to talk about animatronics, that Queen Alien designed all by himself, and like he got ILM and everyone to figure out how to make it work. Jet Philippi, thank you very much for the $5. Glad to finally catch one of your lives. I love the movie. What did you think of the Xeno's design in this one? It great. It felt because the Xenomorph and Alien Covenant, there was just too many differences in its design I didn't like. Because I don't know if that movie was trying to just say that's finally the xenomorph. They're still doing that bullshit of like, oh, but it's David's version and it's different, but it's still the same, but it's different. It had fleshy skin. It had really long tubes on its back, but it had like insect legs that like could hyperextend out. But this I like because it finally felt like it. If you really look at the xenomorph in the original, they've never quite made it look exactly like that since. Where like the cheek tendrils are actually not black like they are in Alien 2 or Aliens onwards. They're like kind of transparent and white, and the teeth have always been distinctly metal. And yeah, it felt like this xenomorph just there's a lot of there's some differences in it if you really look, but overall it felt like a proper return to the xenomorph. Although it's got this kind of the bowl part on its forehead has a seam in it, so I don't know what that's about. That being said, I'm wondering if either through experimentation through the Romulus lab or this particular alien they found was just a variant, not through a different host, but a variant. As I said before, the facehuggers have barbs under their legs now, and they're more darker than the original. So I'm just wondering if that's what I said right at the start of the stream. I would have preferred this movie had it been all set in the Romulus lab from them getting the asteroid to the outbreak. I would have preferred that because I'd rather watch an alien movie that's more of a documentary of the creature itself. But I still loved this movie for just being the alien experience again. And once again, thank you for the $5. I used to think that taking traits from the host was cool, but I've since grown to appreciate the perfect nightmare that is the original Alien. Yeah, every time you see H.R. Giger's designs, or every time you see set photos of the original, there's just something special about it. What they came up with in the 70s, just can't really be improved on. Thanks, dude. Appreciate the response. Didn't want to be left hanging for a potential sequel or series. Are you talking about Jangles? I didn't know I'd be talking about Jangles this much on this stream. I don't know if there'll be a. I don't think we're making a Jangles 2. The friendship circle's very disbanded, and it'd be. Unless through it now being released on Amazon, it can explode with a brand new fan base that's discovered it because it is up for free now. Maybe if it became this big, massive cult hit and there was a demand for a sequel, I just can't imagine 80% of anyone coming back to work on it. I wish they could make a 18 rated Alien film again. What was this? What was the 18 rated one? What you talking about? I honestly don't see the xenomorphs needing any origins. I'd rather keep their origins left ambiguous. Same. From watching his previous films, I thought Ryan was going to be brutalized more before the end. Scorched catching rain would have been more plausible if it had impaled her non-fatally. Is that what it's called? Is this one called Scorched? Is that because it got shot? Is that because it got electrocuted in its egg sac or its cocoon sac? I don't know if you've been asked, but have you played Alien Isolation? And if so, what do you think? I love that game, and happy Romulus had parts of the production design taken from that game. I haven't played it, but like I enjoy the fact that it is such a celebrated game amongst the fan community, because it literally just looks like Alien, and the fact that like I wonder how many sales have gone up since this movie came out of just. Even Fede Alvarez saying a lot of the inspiration from this movie was playing that game. I'm not a horror game kind of player. if you've been, I don't know if you've been asked, but have you played? Oh, I read that. Covenant's Protomorph was a bit too spindly for me. I just kind of see it as a less perfect full Xeno. Yeah, and also the alien's POV vision in that film was yeesh. Supposedly, a queen alien is born from a queen facehugger. It's red and black. It appeared briefly in the special edition of Alien 3. Only brings the unique queen we've seen, no matter the host. Although there's that faction of the fan base that fucking hates aliens for turning them into bugs, but I've never quite liked the idea of there being a queen facehugger. I much prefer the idea that they're like is it bees or ants? Or am I completely wrong on that? But a xenomorph forming into a queen if they don't have a queen. That I kind of prefer that idea more. Even the non-scorched Xenos had the seam on the front end of the dome. Yeah, so I guess just as a design choice, it's not too distracting to me, but it's just something I noticed. You scared of isolation cores, you chicken? Yes. And that, and the games I play are more of a platformer. For years, I had people being like, you need to play the Uncharted games. You need to play them. They're basically movies. And I played the first one. I'm like, yeah, so you just keep pressing X to watch cutscenes, and then the any level you have to use a gun is incredibly frustrating. That's all I remembered. I'm waiting for the prequel comic to Romulus is apparently going to show Big Chap's rampage on the station. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like that's what the movie should have just been in general, the Romulus lab invasion. These things ain't ants, man. Do you think Lee Winnell can make a good Terminator movie? I don't know. After Upgrade and The Invisible Man, I can see it. I think he can improve the experience. I'm not gonna think any more about the Terminator franchise. That has been done to death. I don't believe anyone can make another Terminator movie that would satisfy me, because I just think no one knows what that franchise is anymore. I liked Invisible Man. I don't think of Lee Winnell and be like, not worst choice, but yeah, it all depends on the script. I conceived an idea about the engineers long ago. What if the engineers were possible creators of many alien species, including xenomorphs from other universes, like from movies, games, etc.? So I think I said it in an older video. What I wanted to, if you want to fix this engineer problem, just say, all you need to say is that the alien race itself was a very ancient species that was long extinct, and the engineers were trying to were trying to bring them back, and then it turns out don't bring them back because they're the worst. But then 2 prequel movies, now this one, kind of confusing that whole thing. It's like, wait, is the engineers' DNA in the xenomorph? Why do the engineers' costumes look like xenomorphs? I don't know. I'm sick of that. I'm still the kind of old school fan that I don't look at Alien 1 and see the space jockey and think that's an engineer. It's the space jockey to me. That's like, I don't see that being a bone suit that a thinner guy is inside of. I see that whole thing as the skeleton. What about the upcoming Terminator anime? I thought the trailer looked intriguing enough. Yeah, I'm very interested in that. Because that's the thing, is like, how offensive can animations be of these properties? It's usually where they get to do things that are more risky or more interesting, where they wouldn't, if they were making a live action film, they wouldn't dare be spending money on some of this stuff. And having it be set in Japan's interesting, like what was happening in Japan during Judgment Day, if that's what the plot is from what I gather. No, I'll watch Terminator Zero. It's just because that's the problem. Is like with animated movies, they get to do what they want. But when it's live action, that's when it's made for committee because we have to guarantee asses in the cinema seats. And we have, when it's live action, that's when they ruin this stuff. But like, animation is incredible. Like, I love the Spider-Verse movies. I think there's such great storytelling. But the second you go to a live action version of that, then it's like, nah, too expensive, too creative. It's too weird. We have to make it straight line so the fans don't revolt. In the comics, the space jockeys are entirely different than the engineers. Jockeys are like 20 feet tall, and if you look close, in Alien, the dead jockey is absolutely enormous. Oh, I remembered. Back when I was making Alien videos, I remember that line. Is it Lambert? Not Ripley, the other one, the other lady. Sorry, the intersex character as James Cameron established in Aliens. If you look at the her character bio in the Weyland-Yutani briefing scene, he added to her character that she's transgender. Look at James Cameron being ahead of the curve. I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, in the original she asked a question about it, or she says it's fossilized. And then I went to the internet. I went to old Google and was like, all right, fossilized. How long does it take before something is fossilized? And I think it said 10,000 years. And I said that in a video. I'm like, as to how the hell is this meant to connect to the Alien prequels, which are only set 20 years prior? If this thing's meant to have sat there for 10,000 years. And I literally remember the dumbest comment I've ever read. They were like, oh, no, she's just such and such. She wouldn't know anything about things that are fossilized. She just said that because she's dumb. I'm like, no, don't try to revision the Alien script because of what Prometheus changed about the timeline. That's a reach. Halo reach. How could a third Terminator movie have been made without Arnold and a better antagonist? That's always been the question. James Cameron, man, he knows how to make the perfect sequel, but he also knows how to end it and wrap it up, and anyone that tries to follow have no idea what to do. If he wanted to make a third Terminator movie at the time, I would love to have known what his idea would have been, because it would not have been that Terminator 3. But that being said, maybe he just didn't have an idea for a third one, so he's like, let's just wrap it up. They didn't milk things back then like they do now, except for like slasher movies and James Bond. Well, I wouldn't say that James Bonds are milked, but yeah, they didn't bleed this stuff dry back then like they do now. Lambert is trans, who cares? She's also a bitch, fucking slapping Ripley when Ripley was trying to just make sure everyone was following protocol because they brought fucking John Hurt on. What director would you like to see tackle an alien film? I would still love to see Blomkamp's version. Fede Alvarez is a really good horror director, but he's still clearly like a fanboy. Like he's making this with the fan love, where Neil Blomkamp has good sci-fi ideas. Like you can tell he's much more fascinated with sci-fi. Like District 9 is one of my favorite films, and even Elysium has such great stuff in it. Terminator was about going back in time to stop a future war. We never needed to actually get to the war. That being said, I would just love to just jump to the war. Don't even get to it. Just jump to the war. His future war. Yes, we're just discussing the Terminator Zero Netflix animated movie that's coming out. That was a great moment of raw fighting, Lambert and Ripley. Love Brett's reaction to it. Ugh. This is fun. I've missed live streaming. I was like, I'm going to draw and talk about Romulus and answer questions, but then like gave up on the drawing, and this is fun. 500 people here. I was not expecting that at all. I'm looking forward to it, though I can see elements from T1 and T2 being reused with the I've traveled back in time to save you bit. But hey, just like what I was talking about Prey earlier, like just having it being in a different setting is such an interesting new thing that I'm all for new franchise returns doing. Having it be it's because it's set in Japan, right? That's its gimmick. I've only seen the new trailer once, but from what I've read, it's set in Japan, so it's them dealing with Judgment Day. You should go live more often. We miss you, Cords. Aw. Yeah, I've never given up on the channel, but it's just I grew out of the content I was making because it was too much work that wasn't paying off, and I was kind of like I reached a crossroads where I'm like I don't want to be a movie critic. I want to be a filmmaker again because that's what I was mostly, and I've gotten back on that train and I've like been doing some good stuff. Speaking of rising up in the ranks, like Emu War of 2 years ago, I've been filming a TV pilot with my friend Kim. It's her concept, kind of like an Australian X Files, more Australian. And as that production's gone on, she's bumped me up to co-director. So that's kind of been my main project this whole time. We have been editing it. We have a cut, and we're currently doing reshoots. There's also a space horror movie back in 2009 called Pandorum. If you're not familiar with that, wasn't great, but Pandorum. Oh no, I was thinking of a different film. I think it was a French horror film set in space. This person wakes up in a cryopod, and the AI is talking to them the whole time, and they are like running out of oxygen or something. But like the whole thing's set in this pod. That was kind of cool, but the name of the film completely escapes me. Have Neil Blomkamp direct the next Alien movie and have Diane Wood in it. Chappie versus Alien. Ugh. So I really enjoyed Chappie as in the character, and I liked the whole Short Circuit rip-off element of it. That was quite fun. I'm always going to get a kick out of Hugh Jackman or any Australian actor getting to be Australian. Hugh Jackman is so hilarious in that movie, but I think mostly to an Australian audience. But Diane Wood, I did not like that element of that movie. Though I'm not saying it's an entire rehash of T2, I do like the concept of a new AI competing against Skynet. Is that what it's about? All in all, looking forward to it. Yeah, I'm definitely in for checking out this Terminator Zero. Hi, Cause, just arrived. Did you enjoy the Did you enjoy the Alien franchise compilation movie Romulus? Yes, I did. I had so much fun with it because it was Alien again. No, I didn't like the Member Berry callback lines, but they weren't enough to take me out of the movie. We've also not seen predator encounters take place in other environments like a desert, blizzard, etc., or other different time periods like medieval, mafia, world wars, Wild Wild West. Yeah, man. Well, the setting of Prey being so old or being set so far in the past was a good fresh take. But once that movie came out and was dropped on Disney Plus, what a tragedy that was. That should have. Oh, why didn't they send that to cinemas? Um, there was already rumblings of like, oh, they might do another one set in like rural Japan. It's like, yeah, keep doing that. Make a Predator movie set on pirate ships. Predator versus pirates. Swashbucklers and laser guns. All right, I'm going to ask you: what do you want out of the Alien franchise going forward? If you love this or hated it, what else do you want? Because I think this is such a great reset, like Bumblebee, which now it gets to go back. It has avenues to go down again. Like it just didn't. It definitely didn't after the Alien versus Predator franchise, and the Alien prequels was so left field that even they're meant to end up at the Alien universe, and I never believed that they were going to. In the video game Predator Concrete Jungle, they explore a predator mafia connection that tracks for more than a century. Excellent game. Yeah, I played that when I was younger. Yeah, the Predator to me is still like untapped potential, and up until Prey, like no sequel past Predator 2 ever felt like they were playing with the idea properly. I'm not sure if I'm being honest. We don't know the compelling AI, what the compelling AI will do, if it will turn against the protagonist, which I have a feeling it will, but that's just a hunch I have. I was just Terminator Zero still. Hey, James Cameron's cooking up something new with Terminator himself. I don't blame him for Terminator Dark Fate because I know he was busy with Avatar 2 and Battle Angel Alita. He might have had ideas he gave them, but I don't blame him for that at all because I just know he wasn't even focusing on it. But if he wants to cook up a new Terminator thing with his own idea, like 100% his idea, I would be very fascinated to see what he wants to do. Like, don't retcon the Alien franchise with your commentary on AI. Do that with the Terminator franchise, because think about it, like, to do a Terminator set today, we're not, well, despite all the wars that are going on, I'd like to think we're not a planet worried about nuclear fallout anymore. But that's what the 80s and 90s was still all about, where if you want to do another Terminator idea and you want to have a commentary of where AI is at right now, that is kind of more interesting. The fact that as a species now, we've all just let computers into our life. They run our life, and imagine if all the internet just turned off, on the entire planet, it just turned off. Skynet doesn't need to drop nukes anymore. It'll just turn the internet off and we'll just all rip each other to pieces ourselves. Don't even need nukes. To see the Aliens Earth Hive books be made into a film. Well, this new Hulu Alien series called Alien Earth. So it's set on Earth. Unless it's like a movie that completely tackles the alien extinction of our planet, I honestly don't think setting an alien story on Earth is ever going to be interesting if they never get to that point. Because it'll just be like Alien versus Predator Requiem, where it's literally the plot to Gremlins. Oh, the xenomorphs have overrun this tiny little town that we can blow up at the end. Drop the goo and the member berries. Keep up the fantastic practical effects and memorable set pieces. See, that's where my optimism is coming from. Like, obviously, this has to be like an alien franchise reset, and having it set be between Alien and Aliens. By design, I'm just looking at it as that experience reset, and I would like to hope going forward, then now we get to start going down new avenues with the Alien again, but keep it consistent. Going from Aliens to Alien 3 was already like testing those waters, but then once we got to Alien Resurrection, it was just all out the window. And then the Alien vs. Predator movies were just like, they just didn't know what to do. They just treated them as, they basically treated them as the bugs that they think James Cameron turned them into. There's nothing scary or smart going on with the aliens in those movies. Oh, I'm sorry, this is an Alien live stream. I have not watched the Alien franchise yet, but I plan to. Go watch it. Go watch them. Have a double feature with Alien and Aliens and enjoy yourself. On another side note, I want to explore more xenomorphs in other settings that aren't getting in spooky ship and having to leave it and kick the alien into space and leave planet and kick alien. Yeah, man, that's why I keep saying, like, I would have preferred this movie to be all set in the Romulus lab, and the whole thing is about scientists, and we just get to fully, not explain the aliens, but we get to look at them all the way down to a biological level. Like, let's like make a David Attenborough documentary of the aliens. That's what I would prefer, or that's what I would love to see. And have more Weyland-Yutani. Like, I think the boardroom meeting in Aliens is the most we've seen of anyone from the actual company. I want to see more of the company. Make a whole alien movie about a courtroom drama dealing with the fallout of Hadley's Hope. Love to see an alien film be shot on IMAX film, especially for when it's in space. Also to see a civilized space station that's like a city of sorts. Yeah, I mean, they can do that now because now that we can get bigger in that way. It would be interesting and different to see a predator be the main protagonist, knowing they have a code and not just a mindless, heartless creature or killing machines. Yeah, man, rewatch Predator 1, and it's not a monster. It's not a creature from another planet. It's literally a guy. It's a guy that came to our planet to hunt for fun, and then when he loses, he's a petty dick and throws his toys out of the pram. That's what I love about the Predator in the first one. It's just a guy, really. He just looks scary to us. I'm torn with the ideas Scott was going for with Prometheus and Covenant, but it was a mess. And just having Xenos and no goo. I just want new things done well, I guess. I mean, that's what this movie would have almost been, that if it didn't have a Prometheus connection. And that would have forced them to think of a different way to end this film if they didn't have that up their sleeve. But that being said, I enjoyed how bizarre the ending of this movie got. Because that as an idea is just like, whoa. Because it's not even like, if you're a Prometheus fan, I don't even know if that's a satisfying inclusion. I also think to take the basic premise of Alien and use it to tell a story about mistrust and conflict between the crew, even to thinking there's a secret android on board, but there isn't. That's interesting. There's a bunch of AI racists on board. Cut him. See if he milks. I have a feeling the studio will take all the wrong lessons from this film's success and inject more nostalgia and connections to the prior films than this one already had. Well, I mean, people complained about the member-berry lines in this enough, so I think they're not going to go near any of that. Then again, what other lines can you really bring back? It's kind of a good way if they make another one, then they have nothing else to really tug on. I think the writer for Terminator Zero also co-wrote The Batman. I think the Batman from 2018 movie was well received, so I am defo looking forward to the Terminator anime. The Batman didn't... I love the experience, but it didn't leave that much of an impression on me afterwards. But I actually like the fact that we're not getting the Batman sequel for like another 400 years. It means... That's so cool to me that they're taking their time with it. We don't need the sequel the following year. Because that was a pretty big movie. It wasn't like mind-blowing, but it was very big and well crafted. Like you can't deny that. I'm still the Dark Knight trilogy is still mine. But I will definitely see more of where this the Batman series goes. The only line I thought made sense in Romulus is the "you have my sympathies" line, as it gives the impression that a lot of androids have the same programming. Yeah, that's the only member-berry line I actually enjoyed, because it's like, you see it in Andy, like, yes, they're robots, but they clearly have the sympathy programming in it, because they still have to serve humans. So we can't have the robots be like sinister or so cold that you don't feel comfortable with them around. Oh, game over, man, game over. And they're coming out of the walls. They forgot to use those. Oh, yeah, all right, fair enough. They'll bring those back. They mostly come out at night, mostly line. They're dead, okay, can I go now? Aliens Colonial Marines game from 2013 had the chance to ignore other movies after the second one and show not just more of the Marine Corps, but also Weyland-Yutani, but failed miserably. I only just found out that movie, or has it that game, sorry, has a DLC that makes it set after Alien 3? I didn't know that. Now that you brought him up, what did you think of Andy as a character? I thought Andy was the highlight of the movie. All the human characters just felt very... They all did what they needed to do, basically. Like, some of them were assholes, so it's fun when they die, but then some have some good conviction, but overall they weren't like Alien or Aliens level character studies. But Andy was the highlight. Like, they had so much fun writing that character, obviously. And even that was fun of, like, he gets a new program in, so then he diverts to doing what the company wants, but he still has that, like, there's still an inner struggle there because of his previous programming. I liked him being like an older model that they've just, this girl's just kept as her brother. Really like the Andy dynamic. The "get away from her, you bitch" line was not necessary at all. Especially because he said it like Jimmy from South Park. He's like, "Get away from her, get away from me, get away from me, bitch." Did you play the AVP 2 game made in 2001 back on the PC? Yes, I did. In high school, I had a friend whose dad was somehow ahead of the curve and was able to, like, download or burn games onto CDs. So my friend just had, like, every video game burnt. And one day he's like, "Oh, have you played the Alien vs Predator game?" And he beat the Marine and Predator campaigns, but he said he couldn't get past the first level on the Alien level. he couldn't figure it out, and I was like, well, I'll just play the alien one then. And somehow I beat the first level, and I progressed further than he ever did. I just popped in what I thought was Jimmy from South Park voice. Now I really hope Jimmy is in Romulus. It's like when all the aliens run up to him and they don't attack him. He's just like, wow, what a terrific audience. A pre-sequel set in World War One or World War Two would be pretty interesting to see. I guess, but I don't know. After the Wonder Woman movies, it's like maybe the world wars aren't that interesting. Have the Predator go to Australia. Oh, yeah, I'd see that. Did you see the designs of the T-800 for the anime? I think the designs look quite good and it works with the anime style. Yeah. Can't go wrong with that endoskeleton design. What I love about watching where animatronics in real life have gone now, like Boston Dynamics, where they're such big projects, and you look at how they've constructed these real robots, but then you look back at James Cameron's design, and they literally look like car engines. Like, what would it look like if a robot designed robots, as opposed to humans designing robots, where anything from like Boston Dynamics now, or whatever companies are currently working on real artificial intelligent robots, they've put in the hydraulics and they've put in it's like they're trying to replicate the human design, muscle structures and tendons and cords, where there's just something about the T-800 design that is just an industrial car engine with evil eyes. I feel like Andy could have said my priorities were for rain or whatever the line was instead of the callback. Yeah, definitely. Well, that's the thing. It's like, maybe, I don't know. I just feel like no one tries one-liners anymore out of absolute fear of them coming across as cheesy. So it's like safe territory to say the popular line. The original idea for Predator 2 was apparently set in a snowy area during World War II with two opposing troops in a snowy forest having a face-off and join forces against the Predator. Yeah. That's what ended World War II. We all came together to fight the alien. The alien hunter. I'm not personally a fan of the Genesis Dark Fate design of the endoskeleton, but that's just me. Well, the endoskeleton in Genesis, like, what was even different? It was like a triangular chest plate, but the Dark Fate one, it's like that same bullshit where it's like, it's kind of the endoskeleton, but we're changing a lot of it, but it's still that design. Even though it's not Skynet anymore, it's a different thing, but it's still got to look the same. And it's going to be 50% Arnie, 50% T-1000. I honestly hate Dark Fate. I have all the Terminators on Blu-ray except for that one, and I wouldn't even buy it to make as a joke. That being said, I have a lot of questionable movies in my Blu-ray collection. Every time friends come over, like, why do you have that for? I'm like, a prey movie set in medieval Europe, predators versus knights. Would be pretty funny if back in World War II, Hitler actually shot himself because of seeing the predator in his bunker. Would a predator even understand that a war was going on? Like in terms of who started it and what the sides were? I hope it's okay that I go off topic talking about Terminator here. I feel like I've said enough about Romulus. All I can say is I just love the experience it gave me, and like whatever gripes I had with it weren't enough to ruin it for me. Because I'm just getting so sick of these like 2.5 hour movies of just overly complicated plots and twists and whoa, you thought the franchise one way, we're flipping it on its head. This was the only time I wanted to just go back to basics, and it does exactly what the movie gave me. Thoughts on The First Omen 2024. I thought it was miles better than Immaculate. Immaculate was mid, in my opinion. I completely agree with your opinion. I saw Immaculate. It was too. I don't know how to describe it. It was very A24 artsy, even though I'm not sure if it was A24. But it was just something about it stopped it from, like, when it's overly stylized, it has no tension, if that makes sense. But The First Omen was one of the not just one of the best modern horror films I've seen. It's probably one of the best horror films I've seen in the past 10 years. The First Omen was fantastic, and dare I say, well, I marathoned the trilogy with my housemate, I think last year. And I think the first one's okay, but the sequel is very bad and boring. But The First Omen was like, oh my god! I highly recommend anyone go see it. Don't let me overhype it, but like it needs to be watched. I'm sick of movies trying to. They set themselves in the 70s or 80s, but it's like it never feels like an 80s or 70s movie. But they put movie posters up just to let you know it's the era, or they have someone wear clothing that's recognizable. But like The First Omen is a 70s movie, like a 70s horror film. They weren't doing slow zooms because this is a shot from Rosemary's Baby, or they're not doing this type of shot because that's something they would have done in The Exorcist. Like, that movie just is a 70s horror film. They're like, how do you want to film this scene? Now, let's bring out the slow zoom lens. All right, cool. Like that's what it felt like. Another example of a female horror director just crushing it, like Jennifer Kent with The Babadook. Like, sometimes female directors just know, like, it's just funny, they know how to scare a male audience because they put in stuff that we wouldn't even think to put in the film. Like, this movie really deals with how horrifying it could be if demonic tampering was involved with your pregnancy. Where if a male director was making that, they would just skip over the pregnancy part. Like, yeah, it's disgusting. I don't want to think about that. I just want to get to the monster. Where that movie's like, no, we're gonna live with the pregnancy and see how disgusting that gets with demonic influence. Highly recommend The First Omen. Thoughts on James Cameron spending the rest of his life making endless Avatar sequels? The man can do whatever the hell he wants. James Cameron doesn't owe me shit. Terminator 1 and 2 and Aliens are so important to me, and they outshine any other film director's entire filmography. I love True Lies. The Abyss is a really fun sci-fi film. I don't really care about Titanic. But I talking about experience, I love the Avatar movies as an experience. Like, I love that everyone loves to be like, oh, it's Dances with Wolves and Fern Gully, but it's like, no, it's the best version of those in a contemporary setting with sci-fi and action and technology and perfection CGI. And because that's who he is now. He's not Terminator director anymore. He's not 30-year-old James Cameron. He's now 60-year-old. I want to make movies about fixing the planet, but I also want to revolutionize CGI and filmmaking to its absolute end potential. And, just look up the top 5 highest grossing films of all time. Those Avatar movies speak for themselves. I'm sorry that they're not nerd properties based on old things for you to clutch onto, but like they're the last of the big blockbuster, because everything else now are just products that look like old blockbusters. Where these Avatar movies, the fact that over a decade passed between 1 and 2, and the second one's rocketed up to like the second highest grossing film of all time, was just proof that like people loved going to the movies to watch and experience those films. They didn't have to go home and buy the toys and wear the t-shirts and discuss the ins and outs of every single detail. They're just fun, big movies that just feel like what Jurassic Park was back in the day, or Terminator 2 was back in the day, or even Star Wars or Indiana Jones. They're the last of what those are, because everything else is just IPs that have come from the 70s or 80s and have just been run into the ground because of fan expectation, and like they're movies made by a committee for fans, and it's like that somehow just makes it worse. So he can make 50 avatars until he's dead for like uh, wishing all the world all the best to him. The issue with the Terminator is they peaked at 2. They kept making robots who were just solid or semi-liquid. We need a gas Terminator. Well, we're at a point now. Do we even need Terminators, or can just Skynet just turn all of the internet off and just that's how they do it? Just have every appliance that Siri is hooked up to just explode. Make a sci-fi film called Skynet, and it's all about them plugging all military machinery into AI, and that's the takeover. Terminator Rise of the Machines is more plausible now than it was in 2003. 2003 was just, we're just going to speed it up to get to the future war, where now it's like, you could really, really make a good, interesting sci-fi movie about Skynet taking over with where technology has gone now. And you don't even need the Terminator in it. Just call it Skynet. Predator meets with King Arthur. King Arthur, Merlin, and the Knights of the Round Table, and awaken a giant transformer dragon from a crushed transformer ship. God. Predator versus Transformers. How would that even work? Alien versus Transformers. James Cameron's run ended with Titanic. I love Titanic. Couldn't care much for Avatar. I found Avatar Way of Water to be his weakest film. I mean, I saw it twice at the cinemas. I don't even know if I've watched Titanic in my adult life, and I don't really have any desire to. Well, Avatar didn't leave much of a cultural impression as it did on a technical impression, but 3D was long dead after Avatar 1 wrapped up its run. Explain why the second one became the second highest grossing film of all time. Or third highest grossing. Cultural impression, it's like, you just can't deny those numbers. The amount of, even when the second one came out and everyone was saying the same spiel, even people around me, I'm like, man, there's like something to, like, you can't just trash these movies willy-nilly. There's more minutia to them. And the amount of times I kept hearing, well, it's a James Cameron movie, of course it was going to make that much. It's like, but what does that mean? Like, everyone hates what these films are, apparently. Oh, it's just blue people and it's Dances with Wolves. But it's like, but why would the whole planet show up for the second movie after, what was it, 12 years? I don't know. I feel like people just don't like them because there's just nothing recognizable in them to cling on to that you get with like Star Wars or Alien or Transformers or any franchise now that had like a 20 to 30 year IP prior. Like you can point out what the Avatar movies are similar to, but they're still original movies. Like, James Cameron sits and writes these movies and comes up with the characters and where they go, and the fact that he's planned all of these movies in advance. But people enjoy watching them, like, in the cinema. Like, I know once they leave cinema, no one gives a shit and completely forgets about them. But like, we've got to keep in mind here, there's a difference between what the movie is and what experience the movie gives you, and that's why I've been praising Romulus this whole time. It's like, Terminator 1 wasn't a hit because of the ideas in it and the execution. It was the experience. People enjoyed the chase and the tension, but they also enjoyed the designs in it. They did enjoy the ideas, but you could make you could have given the Terminator 1 script to anyone that wasn't James Cameron at the time, and it probably would have been just a clunky piece of shit because it had to be the film he wanted to make at that time. Look at Tarantino's scripts prior to him directing Reservoir Dogs. Like, I know True Romance was a hit, but like I don't see that or Natural Born Killers ever be brought up as much as I've ever seen a Tarantino directed movie. But imagine if he directed those movies, they probably would be up with the rest of his filmography. But these Avatar movies are just anomalies because, like, and this is the thing, the people hate the Avatar movies like they're coming out once a year. We're on our second movie with over a decade in between. It's not like you're being overstuffed with Avatar movies. That's why the hate for them is so weird. Like, people hate them the way that you should be hating Star Wars right now. No one should be hating Star Wars because they've gone woke. They should be hating Star Wars because it's just too much now. Who's your favorite character, and do you remember any of the new characters from The Way of Water? I saw Way of Water at home twice, and I couldn't tell you who Jake's kids were. Man, I got a friend that I edit with, and the amount of times we quote Quaritch while editing is a joy I just can't share with anyone else. And that's what makes you soft. What is a movie that is universally praised that you hate? Can't understand why. Such a bad question to ask me because if I don't like it, it's not at the forefront of my mind. I think Spider-Man No Way Home is one of the most overrated modern day films. Everything people are saying, all the negativity that everyone's saying about Deadpool and Wolverine being it's like cameo fests and it's just pointless fan service. It's like that's what that film was to me. I'll be honest, I'm feeling a similar way about Star Wars. There's so much Star Wars content where, for me, it's hard to keep up as a returning fan. Dude, I clocked out after The Last Jedi. That was my last chance, and I was like, I don't care what's new about that franchise anymore. I'd much rather watch the first three. Alright, come on, mate. You can't use the Endgame argument. Because what is Endgame? Endgame is an adaptation of comic books that came out in the 60s. Endgame wasn't this brand new original film. And it even had 10 years of movies of build-up. So Endgame didn't come out of nowhere. On the same breath, you say Endgame's not even a good movie. That's another opinion I just don't understand. Like, to me, Infinity War and Endgame are a two-parter. Infinity War was more satisfying as an Avengers movie, but like, I don't know, Endgame was just such a great wrap-up to what Infinity War established. I didn't even see Spider-Man No Way Home. No, you don't read the comics, but Endgame's not an original film because it's had 1 million years of comics that everyone recognizes leading up to it. That's my point. Where James Cameron can drop an Avatar 2 out of nowhere Despite everyone saying they're boring and cliches, like why is it one of the highest grossing films of all time? There's more to look into it, is what I'm saying. Also, the fucking CGI water in Avatar 2. My God, CGI water will never look better than that movie. And it was so ironic. That movie looked gorgeous, and then the trailer for The Little Mermaid came out, and it's like, it's just like dark, murky shit. To me, the biggest mistake Disney, etc. or executives, etc. made was to connect the TV shows and movies. They actively try to force people to watch every show to even be able to understand the movie storylines. Yeah, I watched. Sorry, I started WandaVision after the third episode because a housemate at the time was watching it. I just jumped in 3 episodes in, and I was like, okay. And I think the only other one I watched was, what is it? I loved the Hawkeye series up until it became a Marvel show. Because that felt like Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Or something. It just felt like a fun character story set at Christmas with two weirdo archers. But then it linked up to Marvel and it was like, yeah, okay. But I have not watched... I don't think I've watched any other show. I didn't even bother watching Loki before Deadpool and Wolverine. And I clearly didn't need to. Because that movie explained what it needed to from Loki anyway. But I'm kind of clocked out of Marvel as well, so I don't even count Deadpool and Wolverine as an actual MCU movie. What the hell else has come out from Marvel? Yeah, I don't even know what new movies from them I've seen. Hollywood could Hollywood could use all the wasted money they've used on unnecessary things to help make the homeless in the in the state of California. Movies cost too much now. It's insanity. Imagine if they make a RoboCop versus Terminator movie with the story of the comic being adapted. Yeah, that's kind of been my idea. No, I'm not in terms of I had the idea first. I mean, like, I think RoboCop and Terminator's universes crossing over would be the best thing for both franchises because they work so well together. It's like, oh, them blowing up Cyberdyne removed Cyberdyne from the equation of how does Skynet get a robot manufacturing company involved. It's like, oh, right there, you got OCP. It's just a perfect next another alternative. And RoboCop he himself can be the beginnings of the Terminator endoskeleton. Even like I don't know if it's in the comics, but I had the idea of it's not Alex Murphy's skin that's actually on the face of RoboCop, but they grew it to be on the robot. So it can still be like he has an organic face to make people feel good. But that could be the beginning of like them growing flesh for the Terminator skeletons in the future war. Madam Web. Madam Web was so bad. All the marketing teased 3 Spider Women that don't even get their powers in the movie. They're rethinking their future projects considering how badly Phase 4 and 5 have done, and No Way Home doesn't count. It's mostly a Sony vehicle. Oh, did you see, what was it? Kevin Feige and Tom Holland were apparently pushing for a grounded Spider-Man 4, but Sony were like, oh, we need to do another multiverse movie because look how much money No Way Home made. And apparently it's come out that they won, so the next one's going to be another multiverse movie. And it's like, good God, when does it end? No, I just had the thought, and someone's already commented. Thoughts on Marvel announcing Robert Downey Jr. returning as Doctor Doom? Good idea or desperate attempt to gain interest back in the MCU? That take of them being desperate and using his casting as fan service to save it, I'm not sure if that's the actual intention. I don't know. I just feel like I don't like it personally. Because I just, once Oppenheimer came out, I saw someone, or it became a thing on the internet, like, get Cillian Murphy to play Doctor Doom. It's like, yeah, get someone like him. Because it's like the MCU, once they kind of ran out of the main Avengers, and they're like, oh, what else have we got that we don't own the rights to? I think a lot of that is what's to blame with phases 4 and 5. But you just knew that once they got the X-Men and Fantastic Four back, then it was probably going to get back on track, because everything they've expanded outwards are like, I'm sure they've got their comic book fan base, but in terms of a movie series, a lot of what's come out is just a whole bunch of who gives a shit. But Fantastic Four and X-Men are like, that was always going to be the next proper step for where the MCU could have gone or should have gone, but they just didn't have the rights yet. But now they do. But now the MCU has got such a tarnished reputation that I'm not sure if their X-Men and Fantastic Fours will save it. But this Doctor Doom Downey Jr. casting is just, I don't know. It feels like just don't do the multiverse. This multiverse thing needs to end. And I know that's the big thing of fucking Secret War, but it's not a good long-term storytelling gimmick. And I think Deadpool and Wolverine is the only thing I've seen that's had actual fun with that idea and concept. But of course that comes out after Doctor Strange 2 and Spider-Man No Way Home ruined it. So people are just lumping that in as a part of being a part of that wave of it's burnt out, where I thought Deadpool and Wolverine was so fun and creative with it. And that movie was also like, I never truly got over the fact that they were never going to make, that they, I always wanted to see sequels to Ben Affleck's Daredevil and Thomas Jane's Punisher and Blade and all those properties. I never quite got over the fact that they just started remaking all of them. I thought that in The Amazing Spider-Man was so unnecessary, being so close to Spider-Man 3. Because I know that Spider-Man 3 is the weakest of the trilogy, but it never felt necessary to me to just panic and reboot it. And the success of Spider-Man No Way Home, all that says to me, if they just kept going with the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, that franchise probably would have had the biggest longevity and it would have been lasting now. It's like the irony of the MCU's failing because everyone's getting sick of them just constantly adapting whatever the hell is left. Then they bring back all these old actors and suddenly that's like revitalize this shit again. But all that says to me is like you shouldn't have ended it all to begin with. I honestly agree. Terminator and RoboCop work really well together. Yeah. Also, when you think about it, Ed 209 kind of looks like the tank hunter killer if you put your mind to it. So I feel like OCP replacing Cyberdyne, it just works. All the Terminators just feel like OCP shitty ideas. They're like, yeah, these things are clearly like you send these to foreign countries to destroy them, but OCP just think like, no, we're going to use these as street patrolling like robots, which is the worst environment for them. But if Skynet took over, then they'll just take all of that and be like, that's their ground forces. There's a NECA figure release called Endocop for RoboCop versus Terminator, and which is Terminator endoskeleton wearing the RoboCop suit. It sounds silly on paper, but the design wise is really cool. Yeah, I've seen that. That's on one of the comic book covers, right? Where it's like RoboCop, but he's got Terminator arms. The MCU could have been rebooted after Endgame, or they could have just started a new universe like DC Transformers, G.I. Joe. Man, imagine if they had the balls to properly just end it. That would have been cool, but no, of course not. I didn't like MCU Spider-Man being more like Iron Man's son and Spider-Man being a future Iron Man. Yeah. Yep. I miss street level Spider-Man. I honestly don't think those movies are ever going to do that properly. Feige can suck it. Not a single MCU movie has ever come close to being as good as Blade or Blade 2. Wasn't he involved in those? Wasn't he a co-producer of all Marvel films prior to the MCU? Imagine OCP buys Cyberdyne Systems and makes Skynet together. There can be only one. Alright, I might wrap this up. It is 5 o'clock in the morning. Well, thank you all for joining. I honestly can't believe this many of you showed up for such an impromptu live stream. I did not expect... I thought this would be like 20 people at most. I usually promise like, oh, I had a lot of fun. I'm definitely going to do more live streams. I can't promise anything, but like, I don't know. Maybe I might just start doing this more regularly. Alrighty, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm going to wrap this up. I desperately need to go to bed, so I've got a film shoot on tomorrow. Thanks for joining it. I hope I gave a fair, honest review of Alien Romulus. I apologize. It wasn't my usual rant shtick or overpraise, but as I said earlier, I dropped my nerd hate, so I'm not going to see something if I know it's going to piss me off. And I had full trust in this movie going into it, and it gave me exactly what I wanted. All right, everyone. Thanks for joining, and I'll catch you soon. Later.